All right, everybody. My name is Randolph Love III. How many of you attend these type of estate planning events all the time? Never. Okay. What made you want to come? You got to do it, right? Definitely have to do it. And this is information I think everybody can benefit from, whether you consider yourself to be young or whether you consider yourself to be of the age to where this information might be considered traditionally more valuable. I think the younger that you learn it, the better. And it's something that I definitely want to make sure to get across. So are we good? Unmute. All right. Boom. All right. All right. So my name is Randolph Love III, and today we're going to be talking about what's better, a will or a trust. Does anybody feel like they know the answer? Trust? 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 It depends. Both. I like that man right there. Every business owner and affluent retiree needs to know about estate planning. My name is Randolph Love III, like I said. And I do believe all truths are parallel. Has anybody ever heard that term, all truths are parallel? What's usually true and workable in one facet of life is true and workable in another. Like, for example, this remote. Let's see. Is that why that red light is blinking? All right, let's try it. What's usually true and workable in one facet of life is true and workable in another. Before you drink something, you need to know the source of the liquid, right? Some of you only drink from bottled water. Some of you only drink hydrogenized electric water, right? Before you eat something, you need to know where the food comes from. I believe the same goes for knowledge. You can't just take in information from anybody. You must study where the information is coming from. Just so you know, my name is Randolph Love III. I'm a chartered financial consultant. I'm a chartered life underwriter. I'm a chartered property casualty underwriter. I'm a fellow Life Management Institute, and I'm a retirement income professional. What does that mean? That just means I know how to take standardized exams very well, right? But what if I took standardized exams about swimming for the past 5 years, but I never got in the water? Do I know how to swim? No. Who knows? Here's how I swim. I'm a registered pre-licensing and continuing education provider for the Florida Department of Financial Services. Over the past 4 years, I've taught and assisted over 1,000 adult students with getting their licensing as well as their continuing education. I provide training and consulting to corporate, federal, state, and local governing agencies. I assist individuals and business owners with effective tax minimizing strategies. Also, almost 2 decades of experience in the insurance and financial services industry. I started back in 2010. I was your State Farm agent. I did that for 8 years, then I retired. But you can only sit on a beach for so long before you realize the journey is the destination, right? So that's what I did. I said, all right, well, I'm not done yet. What can I do? And I decided to help individuals like you. I currently have a company called Shield Wolf Strongholds. We've been around since 2019. These are just a few of the dozens and dozens of 5-star reviews that I have on Google. And what we do is we help people, business owners, affluent retirees, significantly reduce their taxes, grow it tax-free, and then figure out other ways to use their money. So I only told you all that just so you know the source of where this information is coming from. Now that you know the source, here is a disclaimer. I am not an attorney. And this is information, not advice. I'm going to say this is information. You're going to say not advice. This is information. Not advice. This is information. Not advice. One more time for the Lord in the front of the building. This is information. Not advice. Thank you. All right. So you're not going to sue me for just teaching you something, correct? All right. Perfect. All right. So has anybody ever met Farmer Jed? Like I said, my family's from Columbia County. Their family's from Baker County. Y'all probably met Farmer Jed. He's somewhere in between, right? And Farmer Jed has done amazing for his life, right? He's built a great estate and he only has all of this. That's all he got, right? Nah, but he got brokerage accounts. He got retirement accounts. He has this sprawling estate. He has this beautiful guest home. He has a maze made out of vegetation. You know you got too much money when you're making mazes out of bushes, right? And he only has one heir, Ellie Mae. Now, Farmer Jed, he's very confident in Ellie Mae. He raised her and he taught her the right things to do, what's right and wrong. And he feels like if she has to, she can manage all of this estate on his own, but he wants to give her some help. So what he did was he put out a mailer to all of the eligible bachelors in the town. And they showed up and they ate his food and they drank his drink. And then finally, Farmer Jed took them all to the back and he said, now I want to let y'all know what I really brought you here for. I have a contest. If you can get from one end of this pool to the other, I'll give you one of three things. I'll either give you $10 million or I'll give you my sprawling estate with the guest house, with the manicured lawn, with the maze bushes, right? Or I'll give you my daughter's hand in marriage. And keep in mind, if you get my daughter's hand in marriage, you get all of it. And keep in mind, this isn't an easy task because there are crocodile in this pool. There are snakes in this pool. There are piranha in this pool. If you can make it to the end, and before he can finish that sentence one more time, he heard a splash in the water. And in 6.8 seconds, up popped John from the other end of the building. And Farmer Jed said, oh man, you just did a world record. You got from one end of that pool to the other in less than 7 seconds. You must want $10 million. And John can barely breathe. He says, no, sir, I don't want your $10 million. And he said, okay, well, if you don't want $10 million, you must want my sprawling estate, my manicured yard, my guest home. He said, no, sir, I don't want your estate. He said, well, hot dog, son, welcome to the family. You must want my daughter's hand in marriage. He said, sir, this is a small town. We all know Ellie Mae. And trust me, nobody wants to marry Ellie Mae. So Farmer Jed, he said, watch your mouth, son. So if you don't want my $10 million, if you don't want my sprawling estate, if you don't want my seemingly promiscuous daughter's hand in marriage, what do you want? He said, I want to know the name of the man who pushed me in that pool. And every time I say this anecdote, everybody laughs. The first time I heard this was from a very well-known financial advisor out there in the Midwest, Scott Garcia, and he was introduced to me by Carter Wilcoxon. And when I heard the story, it really resonated, right? What are you going to do when somebody pushes you in the pool, metaphorically speaking? When you get that call in the middle of the night, your daughter, your son, even though they're adult, they still come in your house and open your refrigerator without asking, right? So you still taking care of them. What happens when you get that call in the middle of the night, they've been in an accident and they're unconscious, and you find out suddenly that you have no rights to get any information on them? What happens if you're a business owner and that sub crew or whoever you normally do business with, they normally do everything perfect. That one time they do it terrible enough to destroy your business. Do you have everything set up right? Is your family able to be taken care of? Because here's the thing. Let's get it out right in the front. Today is for families who don't want their plan to go sideways. All right? Is anybody here not thinking about their family? Only them. Exactly. So we're going to make sure to understand why people are here. And I want to make you know that today is all about education. Every time I take one of those assessment tests, it tells me that I'm a salesman. But it tells me I'm a farmer, not a hunter. I'm going to plant some seeds and I'm going to teach y'all everything that y'all need to know. But knowledge is only potential power. Applied knowledge is power. So today is about education, common mistakes, why they matter, what to do about each one. You will leave understanding things most agents and most attorneys never explain to you. What today is not. It's not a sales pitch, everybody. No product sold from this stage. Your money stays where it is. Your CPA stays your CPA. Your attorney stays your attorney. Relax. You do not have to defend your wallet. Hopefully some of the cross hands are going to eventually just come unglued. All right. So these are 5 mistakes that most families and business owners do not see coming. Incapacity. If you couldn't sign tomorrow, who can act for you? Can anybody confidently answer that question? The surviving spouse cliff. Income taxes and control all change at once. When one spouse dies, everything changes. You go from 2 Social Security checks to 1. That pension that was this big is now this big. Your tax bracket changes because you're no longer married filing jointly, you're filing as a single individual. IRAs and 401k tax pressure. That $250,000 statement isn't $250,000 of spending money. Your beneficiaries, your form trumps your will. Most wills are out of date and wrong Social Security month. Most retirees pick a year. The choice is a month. A lot of you are thinking about, well, should I pick at age 62, age 65, age 67, age 70? When really it should be a conversation of, should I pick at age maybe 66 in 8 months or something like that, right? It's really a monthly decision. All right. What you will learn today is how loved ones can cope with the unexpected from 2 different perspectives. Y'all, I like to tell stories. And if you haven't realized, I like to keep things humorous, okay? So this doesn't mean that I don't think none of this stuff that I'm going to tell you is serious. This doesn't mean that it doesn't make me sad, but there are ways that I have to tell it to you in order for it to stick. And a lot of times humor is the best way to do that, okay? So usually when people first come in, they usually either have no estate plan or they have documents here and there, or they have an outdated plan. If you already have a trust or you already have an estate plan and it's more than 5 years old, chances are it's outdated. Think of all of the things that's happened in the past 5 years. Somebody got married, somebody got divorced, somebody got born, somebody died. Different assets have changed around, all right? What you should have is something that's personalized, tailored estate plan to what you have going on. Okay, so can anybody tell me who needs your protection? Are y'all here because y'all children, y'all siblings? Who's here because they want to make sure their children don't go through probate? Oh yeah, most of y'all. Absolutely. All right, so I asked this question at the beginning. I'm going to ask it again. What's better, a will or trust? Trust. Will. It really depends. Most times it's probably the trust, and we're going to go what that means. Where there's a will, there's a probate. Who said that? Where there's a will, there's a probate. I know some of y'all getting tired of me, like, you ain't going to mess up my old sayings. Who wants to deal with probate? Nobody. All right. So a will does not avoid probate court. So that's the first lesson I want to get out to y'all. If all you have is a will, if your estate plan is only a will, you just guaranteed probate, for sure. All right. So here's the family that I'm going to utilize to help get this around to you. I want to introduce y'all to the happy family. They are a blended family. You got Mike, you got Marie, you got Andrew, you got Brock, you got Christy. Brock and Christy are children that Mike and Marie had together. Andrew was a son that she brought in from a separate marriage. They're a blended family. Most families now are blended families. And I don't even have to ask you all. I know that at least 50% of y'all are a part of a blended family. You ever heard the term, when it comes to blended family, the last to die wins? Do y'all know what that means? When you are a blended family without an estate plan, when you pass away, all of your assets, not some, all of your assets pass to your closest surviving relative. Who is your closest surviving relative when you're married? Your spouse. So you have kids, he has kids, or she has kids. You both get married. You both build up a beautiful life together. One spouse dies. the children of the spouse that passed away legally get nothing. Everything goes to the closest surviving relative, which is the spouse. What if the spouse passes away without remarrying? Who does all that stuff go to? His or her children. Still, your kids are left completely out. Legally, it goes to the closest surviving relative. What if your spouse, the surviving spouse, remarries and then dies? Then all your stuff go to somebody you never even met before. You don't even know this person, right? So what we're talking about is what a lot of families are dealing with, blended families. So like I said, they are managing their savings together. They have joint checking accounts and they're putting the money away for retirement. They both have life insurance and they also have their own solo accounts. And Marie has inherited money from her parents who recently passed. So she made sure to keep that money that she inherited from her parents in that separate account, right? Now, let's see how important that account becomes in the future, okay? Now, like I said, Marie, she had a son before she married Mike. It was with her college sweetheart, Jack. And Jack and Marie, they were tight. They really loved each other during the college. But according to Marie, Jack never grew up, and she had to find somebody more responsible. Now, Jack, even though Marie considers Jack not to be responsible, what he did was he named his son Andrew the beneficiary to his $1 million life insurance policy. He used to have Marie as the beneficiary, but once they got divorced, he said, you know what, let me switch this up. Anybody remember how old Andrew is? He's 15. Okay, now, we about to have a sad day, y'all. Y'all ready for sad day number 1? All right. Jack turns 30. Y'all remember the wild boy from college? 40. I just turned 40. I'm just projecting. All right. Jack turns 40 and he wants to go parachute diving. And the parachute gets tangled up. Adios, Jack. But Jack did do one great thing in his life, right? He left his son Andrew as the beneficiary of his $1 million life insurance policy. And guess what's going through Andrew's head? Imagine you getting $1 million at 15. What's the first thing you would have bought? He wants this sports car, right? He's ready to buy a fancy car. Maria's thinking, hold up, this can't be right. A 15-year-old cannot be getting a lump sum of $1 million with complete ability to control it. We really got to figure something out. So she's already messed up about it, right? Now, in order for her to do something about it, she's going to have to go to probate court because y'all know that a minor can't inherit life insurance, right? Did y'all know that? He cannot. He or she cannot. And if they are a minor, once they get that money, they're going to have to go through probate court to decide who's managing that money for them. All right, so let's talk about probate real quick. When a person dies owning assets still in their personal name, probate court is the process of transferring the ownership of those assets out of the person's deceased name and transferring the ownership of those assets to a person who is currently living. The dead can't sign papers. So the probate court is just acting as that person after they are deceased to sign for them. Also, as it relates to Marie and her son, another reason people have to go to probate court, like in Marie's situation, is that a minor cannot inherit money directly until they reach the age of adulthood, which is 18. So guess what Marie has to do? If any of you have any minor children, or if any of you have left money to minor children, guess what's about to happen? Whoever the person is that has to now figure out how to get control of this money for your minor child, Marie has to go through a court process to determine who should be in charge of the money until Andrew turns 18. His mama got to do that. The court does not have to pick Marie at all. Marie has to submit a credit report and criminal background check to the probate court, which she thinks is invasive, but she has no choice. All right. Any of you have minors named as beneficiaries right now?
Is that similar to a guardianship situation?
Give me more. When you say a guardianship, meaning that.
Well, normally it's when someone can't make decisions for themselves, or in the event like this being underage.
Absolutely. So now you have somebody managing your money, quote unquote, because the reason why they want her to go through this criminal background report and credit report is to make sure that she's able to keep this money around for when he turns 18. Do y'all think, before we even get in that, Marie never had $1 million before in her life, but now she has her son's $1 million. Y'all think she's going to do the right stuff?
Sure.
Maybe? So much sure. All right, so here's the thing, y'all. So she goes to probate court with Andrew, but guess who shows up? Jack's brother, Samuel. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so y'all, Marie is like, I'm his mother. Of course I have his best interests. Of course I should be managing the money. And Samuel is saying, that's my brother's ex-wife. He left her for a reason. I should be managing the money. I should be the one in charge of this money for my nephew. All right, let me ask y'all, who is the court going to choose, Marie or Samuel? Somebody said maybe both. Anybody say Marie? Marie? Anybody say Samuel?
Well, you just said about they got to go ahead and pull the records here and there, whatever's going on. So
Absolutely. And they're gonna listen to Samuel's argument, and they're gonna listen to Marie's argument. Who do y'all think they're gonna choose? We don't know. I know y'all gonna get tired of me for the end of the night. We don't know. When you leave it up to a stranger in a robe, you have no idea what they are going to do. And guess what? They just holding this money until he turns 18. Let's say they do everything perfect. Now an 18-year-old just got $1 million. Models and bottles, trips to the Dominican Republic, tigers and random encounters with Mike Tyson. If you're meeting up with Mike Tyson in any way, shape, or form, you need to consider your life choices and no developed work ethic for when the money runs out. All right, so remember I told y'all we're using this family to help get it stuck in your head and figure out what could happen and the other things that could happen to actually fix it. So let's do something better for the happy family, right? So let's check out ideal number 1. Let's say instead of Jack just leaving his son as the beneficiary, he named Samuel as the beneficiary. So now they don't have to worry about going through probate, and then Samuel can have that money and actually give it to his son. Anybody think that's the best idea? See, it does. But here's the thing. What a lot of people do when they learn that a minor cannot get designated as a beneficiary, they name the person that they think is going to be taking care of the minor. In this instance, Jack named his brother Samuel. He like, my brother Samuel, he's gonna, I don't want no probate. I don't want my ex-wife managing it. I'd rather Samuel manages for my son until he turns 18. But guess what? Samuel is not required to use the money for Andrew's purposes. Go ahead, sir.
This is the same if you had a child that was adult but with disability, right?
No, all right. So that's another situation that we're going to talk about. What you just said is if you have a child that's an adult that's considered disabled, what you want, you don't necessarily want them to get the money directly for another reason. This right here, you don't want a minor to get it because they're going to have to go through probate. If it's an adult child with special needs or a disability, you don't want them to get the money directly because it's going to kick them out of all of their programs. That's what happens when a special needs child or disabled child inherits a lump sum of money. You really prefer that it goes to a special needs trust. And you can put that clause inside of your trust to where, boom, the money goes there. They stay in their programs, but they have access to the money whenever they need it. Did that answer your question, sir? All right, perfect. All right. So the thing is, and because it's Samuel's money, all of this money now is exposed to lawsuits, creditors, and potential ex-spouse. Yeah. If you had that money go to Samuel for the purposes of your son Andrew, but it went to him, it's his money now. Samuel has no legal obligation to actually spend that money on your son. And even if he had every intention to spend that money on your son and hold it for him, what if he gets sued? What if he goes bankrupt? What if his wife chooses this as an opportunity to finally file for divorce? Because now we got a big lump sum to split. It's an asset. All right. So that was idea number one, y'all. Is anybody down for idea number one? Probably not. Let's go to idea number two. Jack signs a will that says, I leave everything to Andrew, and if he's under the age of 21, I put Samuel in charge. Where there's a will, there's a Samuel. There's a probate, right? So here's the thing. It's cool to do that, but your will does not control all of your assets. Did y'all know that if you have a will and you put something in your will, an asset in your will that you want to go somebody, but it's jointly owned by somebody else, that your will means nothing? Will does not control all of your assets. Joint ownership and beneficiary designations override your will. So just imagine, here's the scenario. Imagine that Jack, right before he turned 40, I keep projecting. Right before he turned 40, he remarried. And because he remarried, he put his wife's name on the deed of the house. That happens a lot, right? But what if he wanted his son to get the house? And in his will, just like we said, he said, I leave all of my assets to Andrew. And that was his intention, to leave all of his assets to his son, because she has her own assets. She has her own children. I want my assets to go to my son, right? But if that happens, his will means nothing. It's going to go to whoever the joint owner is. Did that answer your question? Mm-hmm.
Hold up, I got a question. It was a class when I went through, but it was situation was actually with the government.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy, like you said, beneficiary, he signed, blah, blah, blah. It was his first wife that he married. He got a divorce. He wound up getting remarried.
Mm-hmm.
But he never went back
And changed the beneficiary designation.
And so he happened to have an aneurysm and he died. But he remarried. He had a child and all that. But because he never changed that, when it was time to pay out, it went to his other wife, his first wife.
That's correct, sir. Because what it is the first level is joint ownership. The second level is beneficiary designations. Okay. And keep in mind, all of this is happening prior to your will. Because the custodian is only going to look at that whatever form you signed 20, 30 years ago. That's the form they're looking at. They're not looking at the will. So unless you actually go and update those documents, you're out of luck. So net assets with the beneficiary designation go to the beneficiary regardless of your will. What if your minor is listed as a designated beneficiary? You just went right back to probate. Anything left is your probate estate that passes pursuant to your will if you have one, or state law if you don't. Assets not immediately available to loved ones and must go through probate court to get access. So we didn't like idea number one. Do we like idea number two? Absolutely not. All right. So this might be a picture that a screen that you might want to take a picture of. Your beneficiary form trumps your will, just like the gentleman here said. Beneficiary form wins, filed with the custodian. It controls your IRAs, your 401ks, your life insurance, and your annuities. Then you have the trust language. Your trust language controls assets titled in your trust's name, and then you have the will. Just like the gentleman here said earlier, it's best to have both. You want to have a trust and a will to take care of all the things that your trust might have missed out. It's important, but not the last word on retirement accounts. Here's the takeaway. The custodian follows the form every time. Your IRA goes where the form says, not where your will says. Your will does not override your beneficiary form. All right? So does everybody get that? Do anybody know how long it's required for a probate to take in the state of Florida? It's a minimum of at least 3 months, but it takes an average of 9 to 18 months or longer. Because keep in mind, that's just the average. So whenever you hear somebody here say average, there's a big time in front and there's a big time after it, right? Who's paying the taxes while all this is happening? What's up?
Summary of administration versus summary with administration when you're going through probate. When you're going through probate, there's in Clay County, there's different jurisdictions, of course, in the state of Florida. But is that when it comes to probate, are laws all the same?
No, from one state jurisdiction to other? No, sir, they're not. You're at the on paper it might say the same, but you're at the bequest of that judge. It's a person in a robe that doesn't know you or your family that's going to be controlling all or cares, right? So here's the thing. Here's the question that y'all should be asking yourselves at this point. When was the last time you looked at your forms? Were you married then? Did you have kids then? Were the people you chose then the same people that you would have chose today? Who knows? All right. Now imagine this situation. 12 years after a divorce, just like you said, an IRA went to an ex-spouse 12 years after the divorce. The divorce decree was clean. The will named the kids, but the beneficiary form was never updated. The custodian followed the form. The kids got nothing. The intent in every other document didn't matter. The form is what took control. Okay? So if we did have a discovery meeting, let's say this was an issue that one or more of y'all was facing, what we would do is we would look at every account. We'll look at the IRA. We'll look at the 401k. We would look at the life insurance. We would look at the annuities. And we'll even looking at all the other small documents that you forgot. We'll pull, review, and side by side with what's on your other documents, make sure that what you say in your will or your trust matches what's on your designation forms, and every life event since you signed, such as marriages, divorce, births, deaths. It's not glamorous, y'all. Like when y'all work, if and when y'all work with me, this isn't glamorous work, but it's work that needs to be done. It's the most valuable hour that you will ever spend. All right. So what about idea number 3? Instead of a will that says, I'll leave everything to Andrew, and if he's under 21, I put Samuel in charge. What if he did a trust that said the exact same words? Is that the same or different? It's a little different. It's a little different. A revocable living trust is a will substitute, y'all. So there's all types of trust, y'all. You got land trust, you got business trust, you got all types of trusts. Today we're talking about a revocable living trust. And if you wanted a simple definition for what a revocable living trust, it's a will substitute, except it doesn't go through probate court, right? So how do we do it? Your share of jointly owned assets are put into your trust. So we just eliminated that issue. Beneficiary designations are put into your trust. Instead of naming direct beneficiaries, you name your trust as the beneficiary, and then all of your beneficiaries get the money through there. And all trust assets are immediately available for your loved ones. No court is required. All right? Out of all of the 3 ideas, which one sounds better? Now, some people say, hold on, if I put my home in my trust, can I still maintain my homestead status? And that's very important, y'all. Y'all hear the governor talking about getting rid of property taxes for your homestead. I'm not against that. I'm not against that. And can the mortgage company accelerate your loan? Does anybody believe if they put their home in their trust that the mortgage company can accelerate the loan and they'll lose their homestead exemption? You believe that? Exactly. Exactly. The Garn St. Germain Depository Institution Act of 1982 is a federal law that preempted state laws and enabled lenders to enforce due on sale clauses in mortgage contracts, allowing them to demand full loan repayment upon property transfer. Here are the exceptions: transfer to a spouse or child, divorce or legal separation, and trust. As long as the trust is placing property into certain trusts, such as a revocable living trust, does not violate the clause, as long as the original borrower remains the beneficiary of the trust.
So
You have to be listed as the beneficiary.
okay, one of, or the main one.
Well, you are. So the way it works is when you create a trust, you're considered what's called a grantor trustee. And whenever you pass away, it goes to the successor trustee.
So, I'm sorry, let me clarify that.
Go ahead.
In that situation right now,
Mm-hmm.
where we have a home and we're trying to get homestead exemption,
Mm-hmm.
and they ask for our trust. So, if we're the trustees of our trust, not really the beneficiary, how does that work?
So hold on. So you're trying to get homestead exemption on a property that you bought or somebody bought before you? Okay.
Put it in the trust.
Okay. And they're telling, so what they would need to see is your certification of trust. So every time you get a trust made, you get a 3 or 4 page document called a certification of trust. And that certification of trust lets the homestead people know that you are still the beneficiary of this trust. And they may also ask to see certain pages of your trust, not all of it, but certain pages of your trust that show them that you still get this homestead exemption. So if you need help with that, please schedule an appointment with me. I'll give you advice on that. No problem. Okay. But if I keep going with the questions, we'll never get through the program. All right. Oh yeah, hey, schedule an appointment. All right, and y'all, and here's a trust is like a red wagon, y'all. Anybody ever heard this analogy? There's no probate court for assets that you put into your trust, like toys in a red wagon. Some of you probably got a trust that you started, but you never titled anything in your trust. That's like have a red wagon with no toys in it. It means nothing. You just paid thousands of dollars to create this stack of paper. If you don't actually fund your trust, which is the term that they use, meaning that retitling your assets into the trust and naming your trust as beneficiary, it means nothing, right? You want to make sure that all of your assets are there. So a review of your assets must be a part of your estate planning conversation. A document alone is not enough to protect you. You will do whatever it takes to help your loved ones avoid probate. Say yes. Yes. All right. So y'all, that was the longest lesson of all of this. Did it feel long? Yeah. But it was you learned something, right? So the rest of these sad days are going to go by pretty quickly, y'all. Okay? So let's go to sad day number 2, the ski weekend, right? They meet up with Marie's college friend, Tina. And everybody loves the snow with their family friend, Tina. But fog descends on the mountain. Anybody got Sarah music? Dun, 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 dun. And Marie and Mike crash into each other. And they are rushed, emergency airlifted to the hospital. Where are the kids? So if they're there visiting Tina, Marie's college friend, and she completely trusts her, they should just give the kids to Tina, right? It don't work like that. So Tina, what she did, as soon as she heard that everything was happening, she went ahead and called Marie's sister, Michelle. So Marie just jumped on a plane in Houston, and she's on her way to the ski mountain, but what are going to happen to the kids until Michelle gets there? Marie goes to the school to try to pick up the kids, and because they know that the kids' parents have been in this serious accident, they have to call Child Protective Services. They're required by law. And even though Mike and Marie would have definitely wanted Tina to take their kids and protect them without them having to go to these strangers and be with this very unfamiliar place, even though they would have definitely preferred that, but they can't because they never nominated a guardian. Some of you have kids here that are under 18. Some of you are grandparents that watch your grandchildren on a regular basis. Do y'all have actual legal documentation to where if an emergency happened and you couldn't get in touch with their parents, that you are the one that makes decisions for them? You're the one that protects them? Probably not. Let's do something better for them. Instead of just showing up to the weekend without having these documents, what Marie did was she created an emergency plan so her children are always with exactly who you want, no matter what. She also made sure the documents was handed off to to Tina. She made sure the documents were handed off to Michelle. Some of y'all have your durable power of attorney documents written. Yes. Some of y'all have your healthcare document attorney written. Yes. Yes. You never gave a copy to your agents. You maybe one of a few.
I gave to my children.
A lot of y'all didn't. You don't have to answer me. But a lot of y'all, if you have these documents, which most people don't, but the people that do have these documents, you never even given a copy to the people you named. So when the emergency hits, they still have no proof. You're in the same situation that you were put in. So if you have these documents, make sure that the people that you named get a copy. And if you do not have these documents, you need to be working with somebody to get these documents put together. All right. So guardianship is equally about what happens in emergencies as it is about who raises your children when you can't. If you're a parent, you should have an existing short-term and long-term plan for guardianship. All right. So they were in an accident. They were both incapacitated. Mike has recovered, but Marie is still incapacitated. Marie is in ICU, and Mike is making all of her medical decisions for now. Meanwhile, her sister Michelle just landed. If you are married, you're able to make all the medical decisions for your spouse. Is that true? Yes? With no additional documents. Let's see what happens. Because here's the thing. Michelle, she's the little sister, but she acts like the big sister. And when she calls the doctor and the doctor tells her that he can't tell her nothing, what you think gonna happen? She already upset that she got to go through Mike. She never even liked Mike. But now she got to go through Mike to get all this information. And listen, Mike feel like he knows exactly what Marie wants and how to take care of him. But since the doctors now see that Michelle is in the hospital causing trouble, what do you think the doctor's going to say? Now, even though he's married to Marie and Michelle is Marie's sister, what's going to happen is, this is how the law works, y'all, and y'all can look this up. Any interested party can make medical decisions for someone that's incapacitated when there's no estate plan. If you do not have your estate plan along with your health agent in place, anybody, it doesn't have to be a family member, anybody can come in that hospital and say that they're an interested party, and now your spouse or the person that you would have preferred to be making your medical decisions has to go to probate court now. No matter if you're married, no matter if it's a family member, no matter if it's just a person off of the street. Any interested person can make medical decisions for someone that's incapacitated when there's no estate plan in place. And guess what? He's dealing with this with his sister Michelle, but the bills still have to get paid, y'all. Mike and Marie, they were 50-50. They paid the mortgage together. They paid everything together. They did everything together with their income. So Mike cannot access her money. You remember she had a solo account, right? He has no access to it, right? He needs to pay Marie's bills, not just their bills, but Marie's bills as well. But guess what Michelle say? That's not your money. That's my sister's money. And my parents, the money that she inherited from my parents is in there, right? So now they have to go to probate court to decide who will manage Marie's medical and financial affairs. Trivia question. Who will the judge choose to make medical and financial decisions for Marie? Mike or Michelle?
Fred.
We don't know. What you said?
Fred.
Anybody. My name Bennett and I ain't in it. Just like the last scenario, y'all, we don't know. It's a stranger in a robe making the decision that don't even know you or your family. So imagine this. When the bank doesn't accept what's in your head, a husband has a stroke. He's alive. He can't sign. The bills start coming. His wife walks into the bank and they tell her she does not have access to his IRA. Without a durable power of attorney, she had to go to court for the right to pay her own household bills 3 months, $12,000 in legal fees later to pay bills with money that was already theirs. So the moral of this story is, it doesn't matter if you're married, you need a durable power of attorney for your finances. It doesn't matter if you're married, you need a healthcare agent selected for if you are incapacitated. If you couldn't sign tomorrow, who can act for you? This is the most universal gap, the least talked about, and it hits every family, regardless of how much money is in your account. Okay? So, how about we do something better for them? Will we agree that that's not a good situation? Mike and Michelle fighting over what to do, and Mike having to go to probate court just to get money out of her account to pay her bills and pay the household bills? What if they did this, y'all? What if Marie herself, not the probate judge, decides who's making her medical decisions? She makes the call, right? Marie decides who can know what is happening, plus give copies to everybody. So now Marie herself, not the probate judge, decided who handled her finances, so Mike can pay the bills. It was all taken care of. And this is the screen that you probably should take a picture of. Here are 4 documents that most families are missing. They're missing the durable power of attorney, name someone to handle your finances if you can't sign. They're missing a healthcare directive, name someone to make medical decisions on your behalf. They're missing a HIPAA release. It gives that person the right to actually receive medical information. So you might have somebody in mind that you want making the medical decisions, but you also might have somebody in mind that you want to be able to ask questions without having to go through that person, okay? And then a living will, your written instructions for end-of-life care so your family does not have to guess. Has anybody ever been in that situation where they had to pull the plug? It's not a good feeling, right? Even though it's never a good feeling, would it have been better for you and or your family members if that person explicitly said, at this time, do it like this, right? It could have. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. All right. So if this is an issue for any of you in a discovery meeting, what we would do is we would see if your documents actually exist. Are they current? Do they name the right people? Because some of you, they say enemies last forever and friends change, right? Do they name the right people? And are they where someone can find them when it matters? Because once again, if you got them on a piece of paper written in a box in the attic, that's not helping nobody in an emergency. A safe deposit box? How they going to get to it? It's okay to put it in the safety deposit box, but make sure you make a copy for the people who need to get to it during an emergency. The only person other than you who can make your decisions as a probate judge, do not let that happen. You're going to get the right documents in place and make sure that your health and financial decisions are honored. Say yes. Yes. All right, y'all. We knew this was going to happen, y'all. Marie passes away. She's laughing at Marie. But you don't like Marie? But before that passes away, y'all, she's on life support. And remember, they're doing all of this by committee now. Mike says, hey, she always told me that if she's in a vegetative state, she don't want to be like that. Michelle is saying, nah, miracles can happen. But Michelle isn't bearing all of this financial hardship that's happening. So they're fighting back and forth day in, day out, day in, day out. And eventually the plug does get pulled. The life support does get taken off, but not without there being so much turmoil and arguments amongst the family. They'll probably never even speak again because of this, right? But what if we do something better? Marie herself, not the probate judge, decides what happens if she is on life support, right? So you definitely want to make sure those documents are in place for that to happen, y'all. So how do I ask this? Has anybody had a spouse pass away before them? So y'all know things change, right? When one spouse goes first, just like Marie just left Mike, 3 things change at once. The household income changes, the tax bracket changes, the control structure changes. Most couples have planned for none of this. So it just hits you like that person that fell into the pool, got pushed into the pool. Sucker punch. So if you're living off of Social Security and pension, this is what typically happens. 2 checks become 1. The tax bracket follows. When both spouses are alive, you got both spouses getting a Social Security check and pension. As soon as that first spouse passes away, you lose the smaller Social Security. So if your household is getting 2 Social Security checks, whoever is the smaller, it disappears. And the surviving spouse gets the larger check. And then the pension is cut in half.
Why is the pension cut in half?
Because usually a lot of the pensions are set up on survivorship. Mm-hmm. So once one spouse passes, they cut that thing. Now there's a strategy to get past that. I don't know if any of y'all are getting close to that pension conversation, but when they go to you and say, hey, you can either get a lifetime pension for this amount, let's say $5,000, or you can get a survivorship pension for $3,000. It's probably better in a lot of situations to go ahead and get that lifetime pension and take that extra money, that extra $2,000, and put it toward a life insurance policy. So now you're still getting that full pension, but you're able to apply that money to a life insurance policy to where now, when you pass away, your surviving spouse can get a lump sum of money, and or if it's set up correctly, they can have cash growing in a tax-favored environment in a life policy. So in a discovery meeting, what we'll look at is income from both sides. What stays, what disappears, what changes. Asset titling, who owns what and who has assets from day one. Survivorship benefit elections, pensions, annuities, life insurance, what's already locked and what can still be moved. And also cash flow at the cliff and after. The first month, the first year, the new tax bracket. If you are a couple, this is the hour that gets both of you sleeping better, all right? Because I don't know if any of y'all have been thinking about that. What happens if my spouse dies? But that's a conversation that we can have together if we have a discovery meeting, okay? If you want to control your loved ones or your assets, you must act before it is too late. All right, y'all. So Marie passed away and Mike is aged, right? He's aged like fine wine, but he's still aged, right? And most retirees pick the choice, pick a year. And the choice is really about a month. Is anybody here already getting Social Security? Okay. Anybody getting close? All right. 62, 66, 70. Those are the headlines. Inside each one are 12 doors. The right door is worth tens of thousands of dollars. So y'all probably want to take a picture of this screen. I don't know if any of you knew this, but every year that you delay taking your Social Security, you gain an additional 8%. All right? So why this matters, there's almost nothing else in the world that pays you 8% a year guaranteed just for waiting. Who says? But here's the thing. You gotta the way you gotta look at Social Security, there's two ways you can look at Social Security. You can look at it as a return of your investment, to where if you're looking at it as a return of your investment, like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to live that long. Well, if I live this long, then if I'm not going to live that long, then how long will it take me to make my money back if I wait? Or you can look at it as long life insurance. Man, I got my granddaddy, he's 93 years old. He still drives. He still goes out every day. My grandma is 103 years old. She's still kicking. She's still dancing around. A lot of them, they retained their cognitive abilities. I feel like my family's going to live. I got the genes to live for a long time. To me, if somebody wants to protect against long life insurance, then you wait when it comes to your Social Security. The question isn't whether to delay. The question is how many months. The right answer depends on health, like you said, spouse, taxes, and longevity. Not a guess. Okay? So this is a good picture to have. In the situation we've run, the lifetime difference between two reasonable claiming months commonly falls between 50,000 and 150,000 range. Depending on inputs, most families leave discovery meeting with a single date that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's not should you take it at 66 or 68. It's which month during the age of 66 should I take it? Which month during the age of 68 should I take it? So in the discovery meeting, we work with your work history. We look at, did y'all know that they look at the highest earning 35 years in order to determine your Social Security? What we'll do is we'll look at that. We'll look at spousal coordination, 2 people, 1 optimization problem, health and longevity, family history, realistic assumptions, your tax bracket through the age of 70, what the income looks like in 10 years if you delay, and software that runs your number. Not a guess, but a calculation. Some of you are guessing about your Social Security when really you should have something specific, okay? Now, how about your IRAs? Anybody here got qualified retirement accounts? Probably traditional. So I grew up in Jacksonville, but I was raised by farmers. And if I were to ask them, would they rather pay taxes on what it costs for them to buy a handful of seeds versus a field full of crops? What do y'all think they'll say? Handful of seeds. Would you rather pay taxes on the small amount or the larger amount? It's all truths are parallel. The money that you're putting into this is the handful of seeds. You've already put the handful of seeds in there. The longer you wait, the bigger this tax bill is going to get. Because even though it looks like $250,000, really you got a $50,000 tax bill at least, right? So here's the thing. If you, from the years that you stop working all the way up to the age of 73, anybody ever go to the doctor and the doctor says, all right, your health is bad. You need to stop eating meat. You need to stop doing this. You need to stop doing that. If you haven't already had this conversation yet, has anybody ever started talking to their financial advisor about Roth conversions? And you need to. If you haven't heard of it, pretty soon, just like that person who goes to the hospital because they need health intervention, eventually they're going to tell you about a Roth conversion. And what it's doing is it's taking your traditional account and converting it to a Roth account. But what that means is you're going to have to pay the taxes when you do that conversion. If you're going to have to do it anyway, why not do it sooner than later on a smaller number than waiting longer and longer for somebody to tell you, hey, you're running out of money, you need to do a Roth conversion. I'd rather do it now when I have the money. So this is what's called the Roth window. If you stop working before the age of 73, that's the time to do a Roth conversion. If you don't know anything about Roth conversions, please reach out to me and I can help you out with it, okay? So in a discovery meeting, we look at those tax brackets. We look at a year-by-year picture of where your income falls. We look at the Roth conversion runaway, how many years are open, how much room is in each one. We look at RMD impact. Anybody ever heard of required minimum distributions? Basically what it says is, hey, yes, we allowed you to put this money in tax deferred. Yes, we know you don't need it, but we're going to make you take money out anyway. And then it's going to force you into another higher tax bracket, right? You want to avoid that as much as possible. Yes, ma'am.
What age do you, have people that are in their 45
Mm-hmm.
that have questions about doing discovery? So is there an age that you can start or it doesn't matter?
So in my opinion, a person needs to reach out to their HR, because you're talking about somebody that's still working. Work for themselves. So they are doing their own, if they're working for themselves, that means they're paying their own Social Security and Medicare. They're paying about 15.3%. So in my opinion, if they're going the qualified route, because I would love to have, a deeper conversation with you, but if they are going the qualified route, then they need to be contributing to a Roth from the very beginning. They need to be contributing for a Roth from the very beginning. And that way, when they go to pull this money out in the future, it's not going to be considered income. And they don't have to do required minimum distributions. Then I would do it. I would convert it. So 59 and a half is when you can access it without penalty, but I would convert it immediately as soon as I can. So if anybody has, no matter what age you are, if you have a traditional account, come to me. I can show you how to convert it sooner than later.
You can also start one for help someone start.
Yes. All right. All right. So y'all, we reaching the end of the story. Mike, even though he had that whole ordeal with Marie, he never got his paperwork together. Mike still never got around to doing the important planning, okay? So Mike died with a $500,000 home and $500,000 in a money market account still in his personal name. He never started a trust. He never put these accounts in his trust. So what happens? Anybody know how much an estate probate costs here in Florida? Actually, and that's close. Yeah, it can go higher, but they usually use a percentage. It costs at least 3% because they're considering attorney's fees, executive fees, bond fees, court costs, appraisal fees. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm just joking. Oh, yeah, I know. Y'all almost there. The computer like, hey. All right, so here, it can cost an average of 3% of fair market value of the probate. And in Georgia, just to state up, it's 3 to 7% of the total value. So what does that mean? If Mark has a $500,000 home, and $500,000 in money market account, he has a total of $1 million probate estate. And if it's at the minimum of 3%, that's $30,000 just to go through probate. Some of y'all have houses that's worth that much money. I didn't look outside. I didn't see. Some of y'all got cars that's worth 50,000 plus, right? So this is something that you should consider. Now, keep in mind, 3% is the cap as long as everything goes right. Y'all, I grew up on a cul-de-sac, right? Anybody know what a cul-de-sac is? It's those streets to where you go all the way down and then the houses are around it and then you circle around it. And I grew up on at least 2 to 3 cul-de-sacs growing up. In every cul-de-sac, there was always that one cat that would lay in the middle of the cul-de-sac. Cute, right? But I always knew it was only a matter of time. Because out of 100 cars, 99 people are going to see that cat and they're going to go around that cat. But it's that 1 out of 100, that psychopath, that's going to do everything they can to run over that cat, right? What happens when you don't have a trust and you have to go through probate? Did y'all know y'all have to put it up in the newspaper for at least 3 weeks? That's like having your cat in the middle of the cul-de-sac. Even if a person doesn't even know you, they can challenge your estate. Family members can challenge the estate, cousins, nephews, uncles, aunts, nieces. And what happens when they challenge the estate, all of a sudden those caps are removed. And now that even though 30,000 seemed like a lot, what happens when you have to retain an attorney to keep fighting a frivolous lawsuit? Because somebody saw your cat in the street. When it's a trust, you don't have to put everything up on the newspaper. Everything stays private, okay? So moral of the story, get your cats out the street. All right, y'all. Oh, I'm going backwards. So, 1 second. Okay. So, now here's the last part of it. Money changes people. I heard some hmms. What would happen if y'all kids got a bunch of money? Would they reinvest it? It'd probably be gone. Statistically speaking, whenever somebody inherits a lump sum of money, it's gone within 18 months. Not reinvested, gone. If you set up a trust, you can actually put mechanisms in place to where you can control everything. You can keep the money growing, and you can set up time frames in which certain kids that might need that extra restriction can have a restriction put on it. All right? Absolutely. Absolutely. What some of the families that I work with, you know, and because some of these people have very large assets and estates, they have a legacy bank to where anybody in their family can borrow from it, but they have to go to annual meetings, financial literacy meetings, and family reunions. If they do not go to the annual family meetings and family reunions and financial legacy, they can't borrow from the bank. That's how they do it. So to answer your question, you can make that a requirement. All right. So remember, y'all, a trust is like a red wagon, and you can set up what's called a lifetime asset protection trust. Whenever you pass away, your revocable trust turns into an irrevocable trust, and you can set up individual irrevocable trusts for each of your beneficiaries. And that allows them to keep that asset protection from any lawsuits, any bankruptcies, or any divorces. All right? You heard that before?
No, I was just trying to figure out, when I came out, I wasn't sure what was the difference between revocable and irrevocable.
Mm-hmm. A revocable means that you can revoke it. You can end this trust at any time. Irrevocable, you cannot revoke it. And you usually lose some control. Whenever you have an irrevocable trust, typically that means that there's another trustee in charge. Now, for some people, it's a good decision because they're trying to cut strains between them and a large lump sum of money. But for most people, you probably prefer to have control over your assets and not give it away. All right. All right, y'all. So your family will cherish that you made sure not to pass not just your financial wealth, but also your legacy to remember by. So just so y'all know, we don't just set this up for people for their healthcare power of attorney, durable power of attorney. We actually have a place for you to leave your stories, your videos, your pictures. A lot of your beneficiaries, they're not going to care about all of the stuff that's in writing in your will and in your trust, but they are going to care about the stories and everything that you leave to them. All right. So if you already have a trust, are you 100% sure that your trust is properly funded? Is everybody 100% sure that their trust is properly funded, meaning all of their assets are titled? Maybe, maybe not. Is your healthcare power of attorney and HIPAA power of attorney HIPAA compliant? Are your medical records accessible by your power of attorney? Does your current trust have an IRA beneficiary trust? Are you sure who your successor trustees, successor executors, healthcare and financial power of attorneys are? Do you have a pour-over will? Have you had any major family changes like divorces, marriages, divorce, disability? Had you made any arrangements as to how you would like to be treated or not treated when you are incapacitated? This is something that you should take a picture of if you haven't. All right, y'all got it? Go ahead, take your time. So what it is when your trust is set up, our hope is that you name all of your assets, put it into your trust, and you make your trust a beneficiary. As humans, you may or may not forget something. Or before you get to update your trust, you may not have added it. The pour-over will kick into place for anything that the trust doesn't have control and possession of. So if you're doing an estate plan the correct way, you have your trust, but you also have a pour-over will to pick up anything that needs to be poured over should it not have had the time to be added when you were alive. All right, y'all. So here are the 5 gaps that we talked about. And I don't know if y'all notice, I like to reiterate things. So why these gaps persist, most retirement plans get built around growing the money. Almost none get stress tested across documents, taxes, and timing at the same time. Your CPA does taxes, your attorney does documents, your Social Security choice usually gets made by you alone on a website, but nobody owns the full alignment. Y'all, so this is the last thing that I'm going to leave you with. And I want to appreciate and thank y'all for the time. Has anybody ever heard of the word idiot and imbecile? So my granddaddy, the one that I told you about, the one that's still alive, the one that's 93, when we were growing up, back in the day, even before me, did you know people used to go around knocking on the door selling encyclopedias and dictionaries? Yep. And my granddaddy, he was one of the people that bought those encyclopedias and dictionaries. And one time he showed me in this old Webster dictionary that idiot was somebody with the mental capacity of 0 to 3 years old. And an imbecile was somebody with the mental capacity of 3 to 7 years old. And I thought that was very interesting, you know, that he would choose to tell me this. I don't know what is he trying to tell me, right? But as I got older, you know, I like words. So I looked up the definition for idiot. Currently, it's simply just a stupid person. Back in the 60s, it was somebody with the mental capacity of 0 to 3. Now they say it's a stupid person. So I said, hold on. So if the definition changed in such a short time, I wonder what the original definition of the word idiot was. Do y'all know what the original definition of the word idiot is? The original definition comes from the word idiotes, and it means a private person. Now, when they say a private person, they're saying the opposite of a public citizen, somebody in the government. But if you think about it, the government, they think we're idiots, don't they? So if you see, it originated from we are the public citizens. These are the idiotes, the private people. And as it kept going, the government got more and more screwed. And in their minds, they think we're still idiots. They think we're stupid people, right? So I said, hold on. So if the original definition was a private person. And then the 70s, it was somebody with the mental capacity of 0 to 3. And then today it's a stupid person. I wonder what the original definition for imbecile is, because they run so concurrently, right? So I looked up the original definition for imbecile. Now today it's still a stupid person. But did y'all know the original definition was a person without a supporting staff? Without a supporting staff. Now, when they say staff, they're talking about a stick. But, you know, just like a staff that you can walk with it, you can defend yourself with it, you can reach for things, you can do the same thing with a human staff. A human staff can help you walk. A human staff can defend you. A human staff can help you reach for things. So I'm like, hold up. So you're telling me if a person keeps everything private and they don't have a supporting staff, they're an idiot and they're an imbecile? And you're not even insulting them. You're just calling them the original definition of the word. So I said all this to say this, y'all. Don't be an idiot. Don't be an imbecile. Don't keep everything so private and not hire a supporting staff to help you. Yes, you just learned this, but you need help setting things up. You need to be smart about this. Don't be an idiot. Don't be an imbecile. And then when you actually find somebody, I need you to realize that everybody's not created equal. Anybody ever heard of a Chrysler 300? I mean, listen, I grew up in a low-income neighborhood. When that Chrysler 300 came out, I was a kid. Whenever it used to pass by, me and my friends, we would stop what we were doing and we would look and say, look at that car. It looks just like a Bentley. It looks just like a Bentley. That's what we would say every time. And then I grew up. And I was walking through a parking lot, and not only did I see a Chrysler and a Bentley parked right next to each other, they were both the same color, and they were both back then. It was at that very moment that I knew a Chrysler 300 looked nothing like a Bentley. There are a lot of people who are consider themselves tax professionals. There are a lot of people who consider themselves retirement professionals. There are a lot of people who consider themselves to be licensed to sell life, annuities, health, all this stuff. But remember, there's a difference between a Chrysler 300 and a Bentley. And just make sure that you put them right up next to each other to compare. All right, y'all? So here's the thing. Make sure you get a picture of this. If you got your sheets, please make sure you schedule an appointment with me. All right, here you go. Because here's the thing. When I do discovery calls, it's a 30-minute discovery. It's zero cost to you. No products are presented, and there's no pressure ever, y'all. So once again, I'm a farmer. I'm not a hunter. I'm definitely not gonna. I heard somebody say, make sure they don't chase you around, right? Like, I'm not that person, right? You might get an email or a text message at some point, but other than that, if you are interested, please make sure to call my office or email us, or you can scan me using that card. Thank you all for spending the time with me. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Woo, good stuff.